Hi! So I know no one asked for this video, but it's been personally bugging me because I want to know what happens, and it's been a while, and maybe there's like one or two of you that wants to know too, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue reading my romance novel, and if you don't like these, then I will see you next week. But for those of you that do want to know, let's go ahead and get started. Breathing deeply, she stepped back into the bathroom. The cleaning supplies were still sitting on the floor, but she didn't care. She thought a good hot shower would help make the pain ebb away. She stirred in the water as the steam rose up in coils. Her tears fell down in the streams. She still loved him, and no matter what she did, it wouldn't fade. He had said that she didn't want her to wait on him while he was in the army, but unfortunately and unbeknownst at the time, she subconsciously did it anyway. She had waited for him and was waiting for him even now. She pulled the faucet, starting the shower, and stepped inside. The burning heat helped distract her, but even this recapped their memories, making her feel even more miserable. So many times she had come to shower and would later be joined by David and his smile. She stood with the water pounding into her shoulders and her eyes closed shut. Maybe she should just not have contact with him anymore, she thought distractedly. Claire opened her eyes and jumped. If he hadn't caught her, she would have slipped. When she had opened her eyes, there David stood with a smile on his face. "What are you doing in here?" she breathed, watching him wet his hair in the water. "Well, if you really want to know," he said. "I was leaving and heard you crying. I wasn't sure if I should stay or go, but heard the shower going and thought maybe subconsciously you wanted me to stay. That and a shower sounded really good right about now." He winked and pulled her into the stream. She blinked water droplets off her eyes, but she never broke his gaze. Who does he think he is? That boy's got some nerve walking in here, and her thoughts were drowned out as he began to kiss her. She should have pushed him away, but she never did. The water and steam made it even more irresistible than normal. She just couldn't get close enough to him as she viciously kissed him back. His tongue worked his way into her mouth, and she returned the favor. At this point, he became more fierce and passionate, leaving her wanting more. Moving into the stream of water, David pulled away laughing. "You know you have the water a lot harder than we normally put it." Claire licked her lips and, smirking, shook her head. "The only reason I made it that temperature is because you can't handle it any higher. Guess I'm just stronger than you in that way." David frowned. "What? I always have it this hot. What do you mean I can't handle it?" Grinning, Claire turned up the faucet. Being the brunt of most of the water, David sucked in a quick breath. "Perfect temperature," he said through gritted teeth. As his back turned red, he said, "I'll turn it up more." He turned the faucet substantially. Claire stopped in awe. "The shower gets really hot. Are you burning?" David chuckled. "Aren't you the stronger one? Why don't you get in it?" Claire shook her head. "No, I'm not that stupid. I didn't say how much stronger I was than you, only that I'm stronger." David grasped her ribs tightly. "You think you're stronger, huh?" He held her still as she tried to wriggle out. "Who's stronger now?" He slowly pulled her towards the water. She protested with many swears of his name until she was thrust into the water. She screamed. The water was freezing. "David, oh my God, I'm going to hurt you so bad for that." Teeth chattering, she jerked a hand out and turned the temperature back up. David was still laughing and holding on to one of her wrists. "That's mine, you know. Can I have it back?" "Just pull me off and it's all yours." "Fine." She reached for his hand, but found he grabbed her other wrist quickly. He grinned. "I wasn't going to make this easy. So how are you going to get out of this one, huh?" He smirked and grabbed her wrists away from each other. He watched as she furrowed her brow angrily, which looked so cute, and then glanced down quickly. She smirked and suddenly dropped to her knees, taking him into her mouth. I'm surprised he loosened his grip almost all the way and nearly went off balance. She pulled out of his hands and stood back up. "I have my ways, Mr. Harrison. I have my ways." She stepped back into the shower and started lathering up with something smelling floral. David thought her methods worked well, but he didn't like suddenly being led on and then ignored. He grabbed the scrubbing pad she was using and began to scrub her back. The grooves of the pad and the touch of his hands felt so good. She wished it would never end. He moved to her front, gently scrubbing her collarbone, down her chest, to her stomach. The water rinsed away the soap as she stood enjoying his careful strokes. She heard the pad hit the bottom of the shower and felt his hands caressing her hips. He was right behind her, placing his chin into the space between her neck and shoulders. He continued to massage and caress her slowly, moving lower and lower. He left one arm wrapped around her chest, while the other hand moved to her heat. He kept her still, while her body tried to arch into his. If she moved much more like this, then he'd be doing the exact opposite of what he wanted. He teased her entrance and then pulled away. Her eyes shot open as she turned about. Bewildered, she saw an evil grin on his face, and he said, "It's only fair. You tease! If you wanted to play, then let's play." She skinned him up against the shower wall. He looked at her with a mixture of awe, bewilderment, and amusement. "You better hold on to something." She dropped down to her knees again, and before he had enough time to grasp that there was nothing to hold on to, he was besieged by her lips. His knees weakened as she started sucking and biting him affectionately. "Thank God I came back for the shower. I need to make her angry more often," he thought nonchalantly before a sudden wave hit him again. His hips tried to buck into her mouth, but he tried with all his might to keep that from happening. Claire sensed that the time was near, so she pulled away and finished with her hands. David did not seem to have noticed the change in position as his eyes rolled back, and she kissed his neck, letting the shower wash him away. She laid her hands on his chest and kissed him lightly while he gasped for air. He had never had an experience like that. She had never been willing to go down on him before, and the fact that he was standing made all the difference. It took all he had not to attack her then and there, but he wasn't sure if his heart could take it since it was already beating so fast. As he lay against the cool wall, he felt the pad scour his chest. It felt good. He didn't even care about the feminine scent covering him. She scrubbed down his pelvic bones, making him throb a little. "Turn around." He obliged as the pad scrubbed his back. He could feel the muscles he had overworked during boot camp, the calluses on his hands from his rifle, and even the weight of the heavy packs he had to haul uphill. Even though he had carried Claire on his shoulders several times, these packs felt 2 times heavier. It could be because they didn't wriggle around as much, but at least Claire was more fun to carry. As she scrubbed his body down, she noticed some subtle differences she hadn't noticed before. His skin was rougher and darker, his muscles were bigger but more strained, and there were several cuts and bruises all over him that she guessed were from his training. The sight made her lighten her pressure and carefully rinse off the wash. David noticed the change in pressure and turned around to face her. She continued to stare at his chest, resolved to focus more on washing him than looking at him. David instead kissed her forehead. He pulled away, seeing her eyes were closed. He kissed her eyes next. He kissed her cute little nose, and then ended on her lips. It was the sweetest kiss she had ever given him. There was no sort of fierceness, no fiery desire, and no savageness, but instead was the softest passion that broke the binds on his heart. He returned the kiss with the same passion. A tear ran down her face that was masked by the shower's water. This is what she missed most of all: his love. They broke away, staring into each other's eyes. Claire giggled. "We should probably get out of the shower now. We're getting all wrinkly." David nodded but quipped, "Are you sure it isn't just old age?" "You little punk!" She hit him hard, or so she thought, but he shut off the water and opened the curtain. A wave of cold air hit them. "Evil!" David remained silent, but grabbed her fluffy towel and threw it around her. He hoisted her up on his shoulder like his pack and ran her to the bedroom. She pounded on his back playfully, throwing water all around the place. He landed on the bed on top of her. For a moment, they just looked at each other. She was smiling for the first time in a long time, and he was looking roguish with his wet hair, water dripping seductively down his face, and his hungry expression. "I have a funny idea, David. Close your eyes." David smiled, shrugged, and closed them. He could hear her fumbling around, but couldn't tell what she was doing. "Okay, open your eyes." The sight was so cute he could do all but laugh heartily. She was wearing his clothes. The green shirt was too big and was getting steadily wetter, which he didn't mind in the least. The pants were held up only by his belt, and she was wearing his boots. She was in salute. "Be all that you can be, right?" "Well, am I a cute army girl?" "I haven't got a rifle, though. Could I borrow yours?" Smiling, he pulled her closer to look her over. In In an authoritative voice, he asked, "Are you qualified to carry a rifle? Can you even handle a rifle?" Straightening up, Claire pretended to look aghast. "Can I handle a rifle? Are you kidding?" She leaned in closer to her face and whispered, "You tell me." He had decided that she handled his rifle quite nicely. She proved herself once again, and not to mention in his uniform. He couldn't have that for much longer. He jerked the belt from the loops, watching the pants fall straight down. "Hey!" she proclaimed, and he replied while pulling off the now soaked through green t-shirt. It was a funny sight for him to see her standing there naked in its combat boots. He scooped her up in his arms, letting the boots fall to the floor, and laid her onto the pillows gently. He began to rub her feet as she lay there, and she sighed. "If that's all I have to do for a foot rub, I'll do it." He laughed and kissed her toes. She squirmed. "Still ticklish, huh?" he asked, and he did it again. She held her breath, trying not to move. Laughing, he moved closer, kissing her along the way. He kissed her stomach up to her breast and took one into her mouth. Out of the corner of his eye, he watched her hands grip the sheets tightly. He suckled a little harder and bit softly. Claire moaned quietly. He switched sides, feeling her breasts start to swell. He lifted his hands and caught her lips. Barely aware that he was now kissing her, it took a few moments before she came around. While she was still dazed, he had reached down to tease her some more, but this time around, he wasn't stopping until she was done. This one was all about her. Her thighs naturally opened wider, welcoming him in. As her body heat rose, he decided to show how talented he was with his own rifle. She tightened her muscles as he entered her so that he groaned loudly. She was surprised that they were in bed again, but decided to care about that later. The only thing she could focus on was the gentle motion of their bodies. Slowly, her obligation grew fiery hot. Suddenly, she was pulling him in faster, harder, and rougher. David returned the favor by slamming into her harder and deeper than before, welcoming the change in pace. Her stride quickened, and when she tightened her muscles again, she almost fell over the edge. She was screaming out fairly loud, but she didn't care. It didn't seem like David minded either. The fire was quickly rising within her. With a final thrust, she vaguely felt him spill inside her as she erupted once more. Her final cry echoed in the room. The only thing that could be heard besides their breathing was the ticking of the clock on the wall. Looking at the face, the clock read almost 9 o'clock. Shocked at how fast the time had gone, it was Claire's turn to start getting dressed. "Oh no, I'm so sorry, David. You said you needed to leave and I kept you here 3 more hours. Here, I'll walk you out to your car. I feel absolutely horrid." David simply watched Claire scramble around the room, lying beneath the covers. "Why do I need to leave?" Claire turned around and looked at him. "Don't you have a lot to do before you leave again? I mean, you wouldn't want to stay here." "Why wouldn't I? Besides, it's already dark outside and that would be dangerous." David smiled maliciously. "I can't get much done at this time of night anyways." Claire dropped the clothes she was holding. "I suppose if you want, you can stay the night. I don't want you to feel like you have to because of me." "I won't, and I want to stay the night with you." Claire blushed and went to her dresser. "Just remember, it's only the night. It might not mean anything at all." She grabbed a big old dress shirt from its depths and put it on. She grabbed some boxers and pulled them on. All the while, David watched. "Isn't that my shirt?" "What?" "That's my shirt. I recognize it. I thought I lost it. Figures I left it here." "You've had it this whole time?" Pausing and buttoning it up, she pitifully nodded. "Well, it looks better on you." She climbed into bed and laid her head on the pillow. Things were definitely different, but they felt just like old times. This was the strangest day ever. It was a good day, but strange. So I think that's where I'm going to end this video. There was definitely that little section that made me a little uncomfortable reading it to you. I have no problem reading it to myself, but like to you, like sharing it that these are my words. Bullshit. Anyway, yeah, I'm kind of curious now at how this is going to end because we're 2/3 done. So we may find out in a couple episodes what happens with David and Claire. And yeah, so I hope you like this video, and if not, I will see you next week. Bye!